Welcome in on this Monday afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on the WCNC Charlotte app. We don't want to waste any time. We want to head now to South Carolina. What's happening right now, Alex Murdaugh's defense attorneys are holding a press conference. This comes just days after the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned his murder convictions. Let's take a listen in.
That the Attorney General has announced he's considering the death penalty in this case. Clearly, he is not talking to the lawyers in his office. He's probably talking to his political consultants who thought that was a good soundbite for his governor's campaign. The law is clear that he cannot seek the death penalty if it is due to vindictive prosecution. That is, and here's the question, what does he know today he didn't know 5 years ago? Why is he saying he's going to seek the death penalty? Is there some new piece of evidence? So we're a little sick and tired, and we've seen this process since the beginning of this case, where Alan Wilson plays politics as opposed to playing prosecutor. He's got great lawyers on his staff. He should listen to them, defer to their judgment. Coincidentally, he has not looked into the attempted jury tampering of Becky Hill. We're going to talk about a civil suit in a minute, but clearly the statute says whoever tampers with a jury or attempts to tamper with a jury is guilty of a crime. Judge Toll's fact findings were clear. Becky Hill attempted. The Supreme Court last week, Becky Hill attempted. So please, Alan, focus on your job and not the politics. Now, having gotten that out of my system, let me turn this over to Jim Griffin, who's going to talk about the lawsuit that was filed this morning, and then Phil Barber and he and I will answer questions. Jim?
Yeah, good morning. Today in United States District Court, federal court, the Charleston Division, we filed a lawsuit on behalf of Richard Alexander Murdaugh Sr. versus Rebecca Hill. In this lawsuit, we file it under the Federal Civil Rights Statute, 42 United States Code 1983, to redress constitutional deprivation of rights. Those rights were Alex's right to a fair trial, a right that him be tried before an untampered, untainted jury. With the South Carolina Supreme Court's ruling, it has been adjudged as a matter of state law that she deprived Alec of his constitutional rights, deprived him of a right to a fair trial, and as a result, we've got to do it all over again, which nobody wants to do. The damages that we've alleged include the over $600,000 that was spent to try the first case and other compensatory damages. Now let me be clear. Alex Murdaugh owes a lot of people a lot of money. None of this money that is recovered will go to him personally. And the purpose of this lawsuit is to hold Becky Hill accountable for what she did. She has not been held account at all for her conduct. And two is to investigate exactly what she did, which we'll be able to do through the course of civil litigation. We have subpoena power. We can take depositions. And so we're going to be able to understand the entire scope of her conduct. She's yet to be thoroughly investigated by the state, and she's not been held accountable by the state. And that's what we hope to do, and that's what we intend to do, and that's what we will do with this lawsuit. Thank you. Phil, what you got?
I would just amplify that and say that, you know...
Can you hold it until the plane goes over, please?
Move this way a little bit. Get it to center.
Good. You know, the jury process, the integrity of the jury process was violated by somebody sworn to uphold it. You know, that's why we're here today, and that cannot go unanswered, as Jim said. And that's what we're going to do with this lawsuit. Beyond that, we've alleged $600,000 in damages. That's a public number, by the way. There was a receivership. That money was allocated from a receivership for the defense. That was a waste because of what Becky Hill did, plus other damages alleged. And beyond that, we are going to find out exactly what happened. There will be depositions, there will be subpoenas, and she will be held to account for her actions.
Any questions? None? Okay. No.
Do you guys have any new evidence to present your case going forward?
Well, we have. Where'd you go, Phil?
I'm right here.
Okay. We have received a number of pieces of information post-trial. Some of them came just to us. Some of that came just to us. Some of that went to SWED too, and we don't know what they did with it. Once the trial was over, we don't have the power to subpoena. We don't have the power to really investigate it all. All we did was, after the trial, was look into the jury misconduct, and we rode around Colleton County for a couple months through the swamp on the dirt roads to find these jurors and ask them questions. But once a judge is appointed, and I think we got an order on Friday that the Chief Justice has said, once the remittitor is issued, which means it goes, right now the Supreme Court has the case, they got to remit it to a trial court, and he'll do that, we think, in the next couple of weeks. So at that point, then we will have subpoena power. Then we will have the ability to investigate.
With a new murder trial, how hard do you think it is going to be to find impartial jurors?
Well, let me say this to you. This has gotten extraordinary notoriety, unlike most other cases I've ever tried. But in its time, a case I prosecuted 40 years ago, Pee Wee Gaskins, Monk was there, Pee Wee Gaskins, we had to go through 400 jurors to get 14. It's important that we have, what we want is individual voir dire. That means we individually question the jurors, which is not usually allowed in anything but a death penalty case. So we think we can get them. Now, can we get it in Colleton County? That's debatable, but and I think the state has the same interest, should have the same interest we have in finding 12 or 14 with alternates, impartial, fair jurors. The state should want an unsullied, uninfluenced jury as much as we do.
And have you talked to Alec recently? How does he feel about the overturn?
Jim talked to him this morning.
Yeah, we've talked to Alec a lot lately about many topics, including retrial and what that might look like. But to your specific question, frankly, when we reported back to him after our argument in the South Carolina Supreme Court, we told him it went as well as we could have hoped, and that we were very optimistic that we would get a favorable result. And he appreciated our assessment, but he was incredulous. His experience has been, since he has been on the back end of civil lawsuits and criminal indictments, that he's lost every significant legal ruling along the way, and that occurred almost daily during the trial. And when he got the order, when I spoke with him, he had already read the opinion of the Supreme Court, and he says, "I'm reading it, I see it, it says reverse, but I still have a hard time believing it. It's really just sinking in." But he was very grateful, very thankful, and he thanked all of us here that are on this side of the podium, and he got somewhat emotional. He was so, and I don't think he'll mind for me telling you this. I mean, he has always said, and he told me very early, that he deserves to be in jail, prison, for the financial crimes that he committed. But he says, being in jail for something you didn't do is a hard thing to swallow, even though I'm here doing time for what I did do. But then he said, what I was convicted of is so reprehensible, and something that is so heinous, and to be wrongfully convicted of that is almost unbearable, he says. And so he is very thankful that he's no longer a convicted murderer of his wife and son, and he's appreciative to the court for applying the rule of law, regardless of outcome. They did their job, and we're all very appreciative of that. The rule of law won out last week.
Have you spoken to Buster, and how does he feel about what happened last week?
So yeah, thanks for asking that question, and I want to say this. Buster Murdaugh is, hopefully we can all agree, is entitled to his privacy. That kid has been through so much, and that's all he wants is his privacy. And so we're not going to answer questions about Buster, other than to say, and I say it with 100% confidence, that Buster supports his dad, Alec.
With the civil suit, are you hoping to get your hands on the SLED investigation into the jury tampering allegations by Becky Hill?
Sure. Now, we were given some information through the discovery during the motion for new trial stage. Is that all they've done? I mean, we don't know. But if that is all they've done, that really wasn't much of an investigation. And we really don't think they've done much of an investigation, but we certainly plan to.
And let me say this. There's also was a Freedom of Information Act served on SWED to get additional information. We've seen that too. Does it make sense to have the agency who has an inherent conflict, they want the conviction sustained, investigating whether it was valid or not? I mean, it just seems ridiculous. And again, I think the Attorney General's fault is not asking for some independent. He could have gotten a sheriff's department to it. Leon Lott's folks, or the sheriff up in not Spartanburg, Greenville, have a very sophisticated sheriff's department. Charleston also. Use them. But SWED is invested in affirming the conviction. They don't want to find any fault. I mean, that's just human nature. So we think there's going to be plenty of things that weren't looked into, and we want to look into those. And the question is, and Jim and Phil and I have been talking about this, did she do it alone? Did she have somebody help her with this? And if you were sitting in the judge's chambers like we were when she brought in information on the jury you would call the egg lady, we call Myra Crosby, and listen to what she had to say. One time it was totally made up about some Facebook page. The second time, inexplicably a anonymous email came to the judge. We weren't told about it. It was investigated by the Attorney General's office and SLED without us being involved. No guardrails on that. But I mean, and call us naive, because we were. We didn't press that, and I look back on it. We should have, with 20/20 hindsight, we maybe should have taken a little more aggressive, but we still couldn't have peeled that onion back then. But we will now.
Hey Dick, question about the retrial. Some have suggested that it may have been a mistake to put Alec on the stand. Any thought to whether you're going to put him on the stand in the retrial?
Two things. One, the client makes that decision. Two, that'll be a game day call. So you'll know when we know.
When will any retrial take place?
I would suspect within a year of now, but not by the end of the year. No, hell no.
And why is that? Why can't you go right to trial?
Well, I'll give you a couple of simple examples. One, we assume the same witnesses will testify in the retrial as the trial. We have a, 8,000-page transcript. We've got to break out each witness. We've got to read it, whoever's going to handle that person, outline it, and they can be used to impeach them. So, this is like a civil case where you've taken a deposition. Unlike any other criminal case you'll ever defend or prosecute. So that takes time. We've got to go back and see if they've given us all the discovery. There's some inference that we didn't get everything from the prosecution. We've got to go back and scrub that real hard. We've got to hire experts. They've got to look at all the information, new experts, and then give us an opinion.
Do you have enough money to hire new experts?
Jim, why don't you explain financially how this works? He's got a much better explanation for this than I do. Go ahead.
I mean, there is no new money, no found money, and I've said previously, we got paid to do a job. When you do criminal defense work, I mean, one way you do, you charge by the job. Sometimes you come out ahead, sometimes you come out behind. But, right now, we're in the hole, but we got paid to do a job, and we're going to see it all the way through.
You're saying the job isn't finished yet.
Job is not finished yet, and we're not walking away from it. So we're going to see it through. I mean, that's where we are.
Is there any chance a retrial could happen in Richland County instead of Colleton?
You know, one of the things that we're looking at is a motion to transfer venue to a different county. It would have to be, if that takes place and is transferred, it'd have to be in a county that has a very similar demographics as Colleton County. So that would probably exclude Richland County, Charleston County, which I know all of y'all want to go to Charleston.
But Charleston is contiguous to Colleton, and one of the factors to be considered. I'm just saying.
It's Charleston. And so, but, you know, it's not our pick, but that'll be looked at very closely for sure.
Jim, can we talk about new evidence? I know last week you mentioned DNA evidence under Maggie's fingernails, essentially
Right.
connected to a male. Can we go into that a little bit more and how that will play a factor in this retrial?
Well, we pointed out during the last trial that they did find a unknown male DNA who's not related to any Murdaugh or any of Maggie's family under her fingernail. That was, you know, not really followed up on. We asked that they follow up on that before the last trial. We don't have possession of that DNA, so we can't do anything with it. We can perhaps, with a new case, back to square one, go and seek an order from the court to compel them to send it off to CODIS. CODIS is the national DNA database. So, I mean, if we were in charge and we had the facilities, the forensic lab, they had SLED, and we had search warrant abilities, we would have done things a lot differently and more timely. A lot of that opportunity is lost, and so that's unfortunate.
More optimism of getting that sent to CODIS, do you believe this goes?
All right, so that's a live press conference there in South Carolina. Again, that is Alex Murdaugh's defense attorneys there announcing that federal lawsuit against the county clerk, Becky Hill. So we'll have more on that press conference, more of a breakdown throughout the afternoon into our evening shows here on the WCNC Charlotte app and over on WCNC Charlotte, the TV side of things. But first, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on the WCNC Charlotte app.